Good morning from Indonesia and welcome to race day here in Lombok. It's time for Asia Talent Cup race 2 of the weekend at the Indonesian Grand Prix. You can see from the blue skies, it's a beautiful day again here in Indonesia. 31 degrees air temperature already, and it's not even 10 o'clock in the morning. Walked into the track at around about 8 a.m. this morning and already had a little bit of a sweat on walking to the media centre. That's how warm it is. It's going to be tough conditions once again for the riders out there in race 2. Beautiful oceans surrounding Indonesia, and it's all going swimmingly for the title leader, Veda Pratama. What a race we had yesterday in the Asia Talent Cup. We've had fantastic races all through the year, and yesterday didn't disappoint either. Veda Pratama versus Ayman Adaki, one for the ages. Went down to the final lap, the final couple of corners, but in the end it was Veda Pratama, the pole sitter, who came out on top by a couple of tenths from Ayman Adaki. They were 15 seconds clear of the chasing pack yesterday. Such was the dominance of Pratama and Adaki. So bringing you the action today then this morning, ahead of MotoGP race day, of course, is myself, Elliot York, and Francis Wilde alongside me in the commentary box, and I'm very, very excited for this one. Fran, are you?
I am. I'm excited to make a glorious and brief return to the commentary box, and alongside you, a true pleasure. But Selamat Pagi, Indonesia. We know we have a lot of you watching your home hero as he continues to seriously impress this season in the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup. And I'm sure we'll have a look at the standings in a bit, but it's quite an advantage he has now. 4 wins on the bounce as well. There he is, the man himself, Veda Pratama. I think it's going to be a very tall ask to see anyone start to really beat him for this title, but there are plenty of races still to go. And certainly Ayman Adaki gave it a good run of it in Japan in race 2 there, ended in a little bit of drama. And yesterday here as well, it was an absolutely stunning race yesterday. Honestly, I was like, I'll put it on and watch, obviously, and then intending to also have a go at some other things at the same time. Was absolutely wrapped. Really great duel.
Yeah, absolutely was. We went into the race yesterday thinking that Pratama was just going to run away with things. He was on pole position by 1.2 seconds. We can hear it through a headset. You can probably already see and hear it through your TV screens as well, wherever you are watching from.
I think that's
Veda
for you.
Pratama getting an absolute warm welcome. It could be for me, actually. Yeah, you're probably right, Fran. It's probably for me, but no, it will be for the pole sitter, Veda Pratama. Of course, the home hero this weekend. There's quite a few of them. There's 7 on the grid this weekend, including 2 Indonesian wildcards, but the grandstands are filling up nicely for Asia Talent Cup race 2 here on Sunday morning. But yes, it was a phenomenal duel yesterday. As I was saying, Pratama on pole by 1.2 seconds. He was pretty much a second clear in free practice 1 and free practice 2. So as a neutral, we were a little bit worried that Pratama was just going to run away with things yesterday, but he didn't. Adaki kept him busy.
It's one of those weird ones, isn't it, where, like, obviously you should say that the ride of the day was the winner, but such was the dominance before the lights went out that it's almost like, well, Adaki, you didn't really see that coming. And there was it 2 or 3 laps to go where it looked like he'd really lost out there because they got a little bit too close and he went a bit wide, had a bit of a moment. It was all sorts of loose, but it was great racing. But then, yeah, managed to catch him again and just had to fend him off again on the final lap. So great stuff from the Japanese rider, who last year was a rookie and impressed and won a race, and this year obviously still very much on form and in that fight at the front. Shinya Izawa, meanwhile, perfect segue, from, I think, 2nd on the grid. Yes, he is 2nd on the grid. He'll be looking for a little bit more after a crash out yesterday. Had a bit of a tough round in Japan, and he missed the first round as he's competing also in the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup, or was then. So he's got a little bit of work to do, has Shinya Izawa, who's the runner-up last year, and maybe expected a bit more from the first few appearances he's made in the ATC so far. Yeah,
he was obviously missing the first 2 races is never going to stand you in good stead to fight for a title, but he wasn't out of it by any means. But unfortunately yesterday, bit of a strange one down at turn 1. He went up the inside of the number 16 of Ogiwara, his compatriot Japanese rider. Was up the inside, lost the front, just trail braking a little bit too much down into turn 1 on lap 2. And as he went down, Ogiwara seemingly reacting to the crash, obviously pulled his front brake lever a little bit too much as well and went down. There's no contact between the pair, but they both went down and out of the race. So an unfortunate incident down at turn 1.
It was almost... Sorry, I've cut you off. No. I thought I could see your body language saying you're going to conclude the sentence. But it was a bit of a Brad Binder, Augusto Fernandez, was it, on Friday?
Yeah,
where
sort of.
They didn't really get involved with each other. Just an unfortunate crash in tandem there. But it's not quite as good as there's an old crash from Moto 2 at Le Mans, where I think both Pons Moto 2 machines, it's like perfect ballet, and they're very like calm low side, so perfectly riders okay, but it's a crazy thing to watch. So yeah, hopefully we'll get a little bit more from Ozawa today, and we'll have a little bit less of a dramatic race 2 here in Lombok. But I think it's going to be all eyes on Adaki from Lights Out here again, isn't it? And also, those guys who were in that battle just behind, it was Zen Mitani who eventually completed the podium. It's quite a close fight, but they weren't close to that leading duo. So for sure, one of their goals will be to try and hang in there a little bit longer at the front and at least learn a little bit from Pratama and Adaki if they can make the break again.
Yeah, I spoke to Zen Mitani yesterday after finishing on the podium, and he was happy. He was pleased with how his race went. Obviously not too pleased with finishing 15 seconds off the lead, but easy to forget that Mitani is a rookie this year.
I was going to say, already impressed, and I think a full house of podiums in the races he's finished. So, definitely an impressive debut. And same can be said of Ryota Ogiwara as well in many ways, with, until yesterday, some really solid top 5, some results so far, but definitely will want a little bit more today.
Yeah, Ogiwara unfortunately crashing out for the first time yesterday in this season. He's 6th in the championship. Just a quick run through your championship standings ahead of race 2 here in Indonesia. Still 175 points on offer, so it's by no means done, but 52 points is the gap from Pratama to Mitani heading into this one. So the chasers have got a very, very hard hill to climb to catch Pratama. He's won the last 4 races, so it's going to be incredibly difficult for them to claw back the disadvantage they have. They've got to start now. They've got to start today, this morning, to try and claw that advantage back heading into the final 3 rounds of the year.
They very much have. As well, it's been a little bit of swapsies behind Pratama as well, which obviously means that no single other rival has really made hay when they've needed to stay on his tail a little bit more. So we'll have to see if one of those guys can really stamp some authority on this. Here it's looked like Adaki, but he had a bit of a tougher opening round. I mean, the points from Japan, got a podium, but he was again the only person really challenging Pratama in those last few laps in Motegi. So that little dash on the championship classification does not tell the full story there, but definitely plenty still to go. And then Riichi Takahira, as you saw on there, definitely a bit of a tougher one here. Started the season with that very first win of 2023, and then got another 2nd place, and then Motegi, bit of a tougher one here, tougher again. So definitely looking for a little bit more is Takahira, but still 3rd overall, so very much still doing a good job. But I'm sure after starting with that 25-point haul, he'll now be like, come on, want a bit more of that.
Yeah, exactly. Takahira has lost 58 points to Pratama in the last 3 races, so the rider who slipped down to 3rd in the championship standings had a little bit of a disappointing race yesterday, starting from P9 and finished in P9 as well did Takahira. So an important race coming up in terms of the title race for sure. Of course, Pratama will be confident of repeating his race victory from yesterday on home soil in front of a bumper crowd already as well. I'm excited for this one, Fran. It's time to run through the starting grid. So it is Pratama on pole position from Ozawa and Adaki. Puetezan, Mitani and Ogiwara is your row 2, and row 3 is the wildcard Alma from Nicholas and Takahira.
Wow, you went through that pretty quick, didn't you? Here we go then. Row 4 is Hafi, Razyadan and Putra. And then we've got Wan Moon, Al Sahuti, another rider looking for a bit more. Melandri, Darwisi, Fadilla and Russo on row 6. I think I've done the same thing. Yeah, we're absolutely gassing through these.
Ramadito is another Indonesian wildcard starting on row 7, and that's disappeared very quickly indeed. So Chavan is P20, Gading is P21, Putra P22.
So yeah, our 2nd Putra. There are 2 on the grid. We've got Adi Putra bringing up the rear, and then Faris Putra with a little bit more experience under his belt in 12th.
The riders then start their warm-up lap here for race 2 at the Pratama Mandalika circuit, and what a circuit is. 4.3 kilometre layout, 17 corners, 6 right, 11 left. For me, one of the most spectacular sections of track on the calendar as they go through turns 1, 2, 3 and 4, the tight twisty first section you'll see coming up here, and then they open the gas, pretty much full gas on these Honda 250 machines through turns 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 before the hard braking zone into turn 10. Turn 10 yesterday was a popular passing spot for both Idaki and Pratama at the front and all the way down the field really. So this is going to be a fascinating one. Idaki yesterday went over 1.5 seconds quicker in the race than he did in qualifying.
Yeah,
so
it was impressive, wasn't it? I was genuinely expecting, because also Pratama's racecraft has been very, very impressive. He's been fast since he debuted in the ATC, but his racecraft's also been excellent. And he's kind of one of those riders where if he's on it that weekend, you wait for sort of the last 6, 7 laps and they'll just start to turn the screw a little bit and start to pull away. It looked like here he'd be able to do that even easier, but no, Idaki had that extra second and a half in his pocket and really, really impressed yesterday, did the number 14. So let's see what he's got again this morning. And let's see if we get some real grandstand finishes. There's some great ATC races from here with Tayo Furusato. I think versus Daniel Shariel. There were some great duels here, and like you say, it's a really great track. It's a great addition to the ATC calendar and to the MotoGP and World SBK calendars. Yeah,
I absolutely love it. It's all going to come down to, hopefully from a neutral perspective, where it did yesterday. Updated championship standings, Pratama leading the way on 120 points. Only 5 points away from the maximum. Finished P2 in the race 1 in Malaysia and then has won all the races since. But yes, hopefully as a neutral fan, it's all going to come down to turns 15,
we just want a battle, don't we?
17.
It's like a great, safe, elbows out, spectacular battle as we often see in the ATC. But I'm sure Pratama absolutely doesn't want that and just wants a little bit more of that home glory, especially after last year he got injured here. Just a glorious return already in race 1. Let's see what we've got in race 2.
A spectacular show in race 1 happened yesterday. What is in store for race 2 this morning? We'll wait for the lights to come on at the top of your screen and then we will be underway for the first race of today. There they are, the lights are on and they go out, and it looks like a decent start once again from pole position for Pratama on the number 7 machine. The number 20 of Fuetan also gets away well on the number 20. Number 14 of Idaki didn't get away too well. Zawa didn't get away too well either from the front row, the number 21 machine. Watch out for him. But Pratama, look at his lead. Round turn 1 he goes. He's already got 5 bike lengths lead going into the opening lap. He did that yesterday, so the riders have just got to get their heads down and chase.
They have indeed. So Idaki already looking a little bit impatient there. You can throw it away very early, but you can't win it this early. So let's just keep it calm. But yeah, it looked like Zawa actually made a pretty good start off the line and then lost out quite a lot. So he's got a little bit of work to do there. You can see in the graphics down in 6th. So a little bit of work to do for the number 21. But Pratama, everything going perfectly to plan so far.
Oh, look at the run that the riders have got out of there using the slipstream to great effect. This is the turn 10 we were on about, coming out of the fast sweeping sections through sector 2, diving up the inside. I think that is Idaki going into P2 straight away, the number 14 rider. Yes, it is. You can see Pratama getting away already. What is it through the second split? Nearly half a second as the number 7 got in hand over Idaki. So Idaki knows he was the only rider yesterday to keep tabs with Pratama. He's up to second already, so it's a good start from Idaki, but he knows that he needs to bridge that gap immediately or Pratama could be racing away with this.
Yeah, absolutely. So Idaki now got to get his head down, not only try and go as quickly as he can, but make sure he can defend that position as well, because if he gets caught up in a battle with these guys, they're all fast enough to fight with him, but will they have that same pace that he showed across race distance yesterday? That is more of a question mark. So the race is on them for the number 14 to try and cut that gap, but so far this is more what I'd expected from race 1, to be honest. Pratama already with quite a healthy margin in hand.
1.1 seconds on the opening lap for Pratama. What an opening lap it has been for the Indonesian on home soil. Of course, exactly what the number 7 would have ordered this morning and would have wanted this morning. Idaki up to second place, as we've mentioned. He's got work to do. The riders behind know that Idaki was the only rider to live with Pratama yesterday, so They've just got to try and probably box clever through the opening couple of laps to try and bridge the gap. Adaki has the pace yesterday, unless Pratama has found something extra this morning and overnight. But it's going to be interesting on these opening couple of laps, especially on lap 2, to see if Pratama can continue to stretch his lead. He's into his rhythm already. He's not being hustled like he did yesterday by Adaki. Adaki was able to get in front of him on the opening lap and lap 2 and 3 to just disturb him a little bit, and then the two raced away. Who's that getting a great slipstream? I think it's Azawa, the number 21, up the inside of Huetazan, and that's Ogiwara on the 16 bike, just getting it out of shape. Contact down at turn 10 as well.
Everyone out of shape there. Nice little busy apex that was, wasn't it? Classic ATC style. It looks like Adaki then has got a little bit of breathing room now, but yeah, definitely not quite as good a start as he had yesterday, but he is certainly... Oh, and we've got a crasher there in the background sliding out. Looks like Ryder pretty okay there. Yep. Heading across to see if the bike can restart. So it's Razyadan, the number 18. So good to see him immediately up and okay, but obviously a big shame. Got to wait a couple of weeks now as well to get back in action at Buriram. So we rejoin the fight at the front then, and we can see the number 14 of Adaki holding strong in second, but not making too much headway at the moment into that lead held by Pratama.
Let's get the lead gap across the line. 1.4 seconds, the fastest lap of the race by Pratama, 1:43.214. That's a very, very quick lap indeed from the number 7 machine. He's into his rhythm nice and early, is Pratama. Adaki cut the gap a little bit, held station, lost a couple of tenths on that lap, but by no means a disaster. But as soon as it starts creeping over 1.5 seconds towards 2 seconds, then it's going to get really, really difficult. So Adaki needs to cut that gap in the next couple of laps if he stands any chance of trying to catch Pratama out in the race lead. But he has gaps the guys behind him. Yeah, he
really has, hasn't he? You can now see there's some serious daylight between him and the number 2 of Zenmitani, who was in 3rd place yesterday as well, by the flag anyway. It was quite a close battle to complete the podium yesterday. But yeah, let's see then what Adaki's got, because Pratama as well, he's not going to slow down. You can see there, fastest lap. So it's not just that Adaki's got to stay with him, he's also now got to be significantly quicker than him to make up that ground. So let's see. We've got a bit of a more spread out group out the front at the moment, although we've seen a few times it closes up on that main straight again. But at the moment then, we've got Pratama, Adaki, and then this little duel, and then we've got this big group there, headed now by Marianus Nicholas, the Australian rider, in 5th.
The gap through the 3rd split is up to 1.8 seconds. It was 1.4 across the line, so Adaki has lost another 0.4 seconds through the first 3/4 of the lap here on lap 3.
I thought you said 1.4 then.
No, not
My brain
quite.
just had a bit of a pause. But yeah, it's definitely... Oh, and then a big mistake then from the number 14. He's dropped back into that battle then. He's now battling with that number 12, which is Nicholas, like I said, the Australian rider. So I think that may be game over in Ayman Adaki's mission to try and make this another late race duel, because that's a lot of time there the number 14 has lost, and now he's back in that battling pack as well. I'm sure he will strike very quickly as soon as he's on the rear wheel of the number 2 of Zenmitani again, but that gap has just got bigger.
2.7 seconds over the line, Pratama to Mitani. Adaki making a mistake where it all came down to on the final lap yesterday afternoon down at turn 16. I'd like to get a replay of what happened to Adaki. He's obviously very, very keen to try and get past Mitani. Remember, Mitani sits currently as the rider second in the championship.
That was brutally brilliant, that was, though. So Adaki is through then, and he's back into that 2nd place. And we've got a crasher then, Raycat Fadilla, sadly crashing out. You can see Ryder up okay on his feet there. And I think he'd also had a drop 1 position penalty a few minutes ago as well for a shortcut that we'd not quite got to yet with the drama of Ayman Adaki. That came up on our timing screens though, and sadly then he's crashed out, the number 15. But back to mission catch Pratama then. Adaki back in 2nd place, wasted absolutely no time recouping that ground, but I think that gap now is pretty impressive for Pratama at the front, isn't it?
Yeah, looking pretty ominous this, unfortunately. As a neutral's perspective, of course, all the Indonesian fans watching from home and in the grandstands are very, very pleased.
Remember, you've got to go outside again and tell them. No, absolutely. So yeah, it's just another incredible masterclass so far then from Pratama. Great stuff. We've just heard our, I was going to say, we've just seen our grandstand opposite erupt a little bit. And I was wondering, why is that? And it's Pratama's already passed, and with 1 bike, and then the big gap, you're not quite aware that it is the race lead coming through. But that performance, so impressive then. Oh no, we've got another crasher then. Bit of a classic one, that just sliding out. So that is unfortunate there.
The wild card,
yeah, for the number 24. Really impressive weekend so far. So a bit of a disappointing end there, but definitely showed some racing chops here on home turf. That qualifying was especially impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. To be racing in the front group, fighting for the podium in the first weekend as an Asia Talent Cup rider. Dexa Alma confirmation of the number 24's crash down at turn 1. We've seen it a few times this weekend already. That's where Lazara and Ogiwara unfortunately crashed out yesterday. But good to see him back on his feet. But it will take a lot of confidence from this weekend, will the young Indonesian rider. A good weekend, a solid weekend on home turf. Unfortunately,
trying to get back in it, yeah.
Yeah, he'll be disappointed, of course, but a great weekend nonetheless. I think we're going to get a replay of what happened then down at turn 1. Just watching in the middle of that group, I think it is.
Yeah, just asking a little bit too much of it. And slides out then, as you can see, rider perfectly okay, but not able to rejoin. Quite often when you do have that kind of low side, you can get it going again, and the machine's pretty all right, but sadly not on this occasion.
Whoa,
so
look at Matani there.
That's a brave and nicely done move. That was smooth, wasn't it? Lovely stuff from the number 2.
From Matani.
It was indeed. So now you can see them back at the front. It looks like there's a little bit of daylight again for Adaki in that second place. We've already got Pratama well past us and off on his mission to win a 5th race in a row. But Adaki then back in a pretty safe second place at the moment, but needs to just keep it calm now and not make any of those mistakes that we saw a few laps ago, and make sure at least that you can take those 20 points.
Yeah, a runaway victory incoming for Pratama, much to the delight of the Indonesian fans. He was run close yesterday, but it's not going to be anything like that unless he makes a mistake. But he's not made a mistake all weekend long, pretty much all year long, actually.
I was going to say, it's quite a run, to be honest, and a very impressive one. So yeah, great stuff. And Indonesian fans, if you are listening, and we know you are, we also now have an Indonesian version of MotoGP.com. So if you want to get some MotoGP motorcycling news in Indonesian, please head there and find out. It couldn't be better timing, as we've got Pratama lighting up the ATC. We've got Mario Aji set to be on the Moto2 grid next year. So yeah, it's an exciting time. And RBR Pratama as well, wildcarding this weekend, I should say. Sadly then we've got another crasher out of contention in this one. Maybe going to be able to rejoin, certainly giving it a go. So it looks like another low side there for Jorge Rafael. I said that very Spanish, didn't I? Getting there, but hopefully might be able to get back in, at least get some more laps of experience.
Coming round then to complete lap 5 of 15. 9 laps to go once Pratama across the line. There he is, whizzes past our commentary box window. The others get it turned through the tight and twisty turn 16 and 17, fire it out down the front straight. Adaki, relatively comfortable P2 at this moment in time. He's got 3 tenths.
Lost a bit though.
Off Matani. Ogiwara up in 4th place. Takahiro having a better ride so far today. He finished 9th, remember. He's slipped down to 3rd in the overall standings. Takahiro, watch out for the number 9 machine. He'll be very, very hungry to at least try and battle for the podium like he didn't do yesterday. Had a disastrous Sunday back in Japan on home turf. Didn't complete the sighting lap, did Takahiro. Remember, he went into that weekend level on points with the number 7 on screen. Did Takahiro. So a very, very disappointing weekend on home soil, and he's seeing the title slip away from his fingertips. Here's a replay then of the race start. Pratama, just as he did yesterday, got a fantastic start from pole position. The others chasing him immediately. Adaki on the number 14, Fuesan getting a good start on the number 20. Azara hanging it around the outside. Mitani on the number 2, try and get the inside line. But unfortunately, all this was in vain as Pratama nailed the apex, nailed the start, and was well on his way. And he's now 4.7 seconds up the road from the chasers. There you can see no one else in sight for the number 7. Live championship standings, 145 points from a possible 150. Starts do not get much better than that to a season.
To be fair, they did one time.
One time.
Tayo Furusato, who got the full set in 2021. But no, it's an incredible season so far for Pratama. I mean, we saw some really impressive stuff from him last season. A little bit interrupted by injury, that was, when he was making his debut. But this year, just, class of the field so far, and certainly in this race here on home turf. And I'm sure the fans are loving it, and you should enjoy it. It is a truly impressive performance. And it's also a pretty impressive performance here then from Zen Mitani, who is right back on the rear wheel of Eamon Adaki in this fight for the podium. So the race one rider, of course, they all were. But the race one dueler there for the victory today, having definitely a tougher run of it, not been able to recover too much ground from that mistake, and right in that battle now with Ogiwara and Mitani, not too far behind.
Yeah, the mistake down at turn 16 has ultimately cost Adaki any chance of trying to fight for the victory here on Sunday afternoon. All he's got to do now, the number 14, is to try and finish in second place, just as he did yesterday. Adaki trying to climb his way up the championship standings. He's had 2 podiums his last 3 races. Of course, crashed out dramatically on the last lap in Japan. A clash with Pratama on the final lap down at turn 11. An unlucky incident, a racing incident, but it was unfortunately Adaki who went down the roads. But he would be a lot higher up in the standings if it weren't for those crashes. Unfortunately, crashes do happen, and that's just how it happens in motorcycle racing. Getting a replay of Takahira on the number 9 machine, overtaking Nicholas down at turn 10. As we said, a very popular passing place here, especially in the Asia Talent Cup. Run through that spectacular snaking section just after they click through sector 1, click through sector 2, and the hard braking zone down at turn 10 lends itself perfectly for some nice overtaking.
It really does. I got very distracted a second ago with the surf in the background. Absolutely glorious that you can get that shot from here. Something we've got to look forward to in MotoGP as well next weekend in Australia. Possibly 30 degrees cooler, but we'll see. But yeah, this little battle then is definitely a trio in the fight for second place. And like we saw Takahira on Nicholas, that's a good little duel there. And it looks like the group behind them are making some gains as well. It's becoming a much bigger group behind this podium fight. And obviously 3 into 2 places on the podium. One of these guys is going to be disappointed. So we've got 7 laps to go to decide who's going to take it. Adaki seems to have that little bit more, but then they just catch back up to him, but then he's able to just pull out a couple of tenths again and keep that breathing space. So we have to keep an eye on this for sure and see if the number 14 can just edge away again.
I think in motorcycle racing in general, especially in the lower classes, if you can lock your radar onto someone a little bit quicker than you, we see it in qualifying, don't we? That's the whole point of trying to get a toe in qualifying.
It's the whole point of Marc Marquez's qualifying in the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, absolutely, exactly. Prime example, Marc Marquez latching on to probably one of the Ducatis in recent years. But if you latch on to someone who's got a little bit of a better pace than you can just follow the line, stay in the slipstream and stay with them. I think yesterday, all credit to Pratama and Adaki, of course. Adaki was just able to stay with Pratama.
It helps with, yeah, exactly, and being able to attack early on as well. Yeah. He wasn't on the back foot trying to make up that ground by himself, and yeah, it was just able to stay with him, learn from him, get in front of him as well. And yeah, definitely some very impressive laps from Adaki yesterday. They were trading fast laps as well. He wasn't, I mean, until that battle really heated up in the final stages, it didn't look like it was really costing him too greatly to be able to stay with the number 7 either. So very impressive race from Adaki. This is a good fight now, isn't it? Look, it's absolutely bunched up, and I'm sure it will do even more. Now we've got the slipstream down the main straight. Adaki's managed to escape attack from that slipstream there, but I'm sure we're going to have surely at least a move here. No, line astern then, but they're all close together now, this huge group of 6 battling for 5th.
Pratama then 5.2 seconds up the road. He is going to be your Asia Talent Cup race winner if he stays upright and makes no mistakes. Hopefully I've not just cursed him, by the way. Sorry to Indonesian fans there. Adaki, of course, in the fight with Mitani and Ogiwara. It's a 3-way Japanese fight for 2 places on the podium. And then it's this fight we're watching on screen between Nicholas Fuetezan, Takahira, Hafai, Zara and Putra. And then it's 10 seconds further back you'll find Hamad Al Sahuti in P11. So this is a fascinating fight to try and get inside the top 5 and 6. This is going to go right down to the wire. Takahira, remember, 3rd in the standings. He needs all the points he can to try and limit the damage that's going to be inflicted on him again from Pratama potentially winning the race. Watch out for the number 9, that is Takahira. Nicholas having a good race so far. He's up inside the top 5. Here is your runaway race leader, Pratama, on the number 7 machine. He's a star in the making, isn't he, Fran, from Indonesia? As you rightly mentioned, we've got a couple of them coming up through the ranks, including Mario Aji, who's going to make his Moto2 debut next year, which is a tantalising prospect. Mario, probably a little bit too big now for the Moto3 machines that he's racing on, but Hiroshi Oyama, I spoke to him this weekend and he said he's already taken to Moto2 better than he has done to Moto3. So exciting times for Indonesian fans.
Absolutely. So here then, enjoy a lovely little replay of the rider of the moment then. Heading round that beautiful final couple of corners. Hopefully keeping it nice and clean. Yep, nowhere near the edge there. Beautiful. Tuck back in and away we go.
A lot cleaner than it was yesterday on the final lap as well. We nearly chucked a race victory away, did Pratama.
A little bit scrappy, wasn't it?
Lost the front end down at turn 17 after remaking the move that Idaki made on him a couple of times in the race. The number 14 died at the inside of the final sector, but Pratama bit straight back. And then it all nearly ended in tears for Pratama down at the final corner. But he managed to catch the front end slide, and he did take victory, of course. This, Fran, is a tantalising prospect. 3 Japanese riders going for one spot, two spots, on the podium.
They are indeed. And this battle as well. Okay, so Ozawa's now moved back to the front of this group. So I was going to say, got a pretty good launch, didn't get the best start, but then has really sort of faded backwards a little bit in the last sort of 3-4 laps, Ozawa, and I'm sure he won a lot more. Like we said, he was runner-up last year, a really good season, and for sure, I mean, in the standings, obviously, he didn't compete for the first 50 points on the table because he was at the Red Bull Rookies, but he'll definitely want a lot more from his season, so we'll have to see if he can get to the front of this group. That's a pretty solid result in the top 5. But I'm sure he would have wanted to at least be fighting for the podium, and that is a bit of an error there from the number 9 of Takahira. Gathered it back up. At least with a bit of a group there, he can try and tag back onto them and use that slipstream to catch that ground back up. It wasn't too dramatic, but definitely losing a bit of ground there, the number 9.
Yeah, a little bit of head shake from the number 9 of Takahira. He knows it's a potentially costly error in terms of trying to get on to the top 5 on the timesheets. Takahira needs all the points he can get, but at that turns 15, 16, so easy to make a mistake. It's a hot spot for crashes and running wide. We've seen it across every single class this weekend. Even the best riders in the world make that mistake. So it's a very, very tricky sort of couple of corners to try and get right. You're heavy into the braking zone. You're having to lean the bike over into turn 16, trail brake it into the tight right-hander of turn 16. So yeah, a very, very difficult section of track to get right. Very technical way to end the lap here in Mandalika, but that's what makes this track one of the best in the world. Idaki then still leading the way in the race for P2. Mitani, and he's just out the seat there. Idaki, a shake of the head. He's clearly pushing. He clearly wants to try and break Mitani and Ogiwara, but he's not able to do so. 3.5 laps to go. I think this is going to go all the way to the flag. Idaki maybe just struggling with rear end grip. Who knows? It's very tough conditions out there, but he's got 2 compatriots right behind him, and this is going to go all the way to the wire.
It really is. So yeah, another little error there from Idaki. He's gathered it up and didn't actually lose that position, but he must be, like you say, pushing on. I imagine, given the hand-to-hand combat hasn't gone so well for him in the last couple, he really does want to get to the end of this race, not only taking second, but also having a little bit of breathing space. So very much still full gas, the number 14, and now he's lost a little bit of ground, and this could be an opportunity with the slipstream for Zen Matani. But as I say that, look at the number 14 actually making more of a gap there as they go down the main straight. It's a bit of a smaller rider, which could play a role. But let's see if there's a turn 1 shuffle in that group, and then I'm sure there's going to be a turn 1 shuffle in this group. It's now closer than ever in this fight for 5th, and it's now Hafi who's moved up into that 5th place, the number 19 from Malaysia. So let's see what we've got here. They're very close together still, this group of 5, aren't they? It looks like Pooch has just dropped off the back of this a little bit, but I'm sure we're going to get some more fireworks.
I think we are, yeah. Through this section, as we mentioned before, the snaking, fast, full gas section on these Asia Talent Cup machines, and then it all lends itself down into turn 10, the hard braking zone. We saw it yesterday, especially with Idaki and Pratama fighting at the front. Ozawa is definitely going to be lining up a move on Hafai at the front of that group. We just cut away to the riders in 2nd, 3rd and 4th place because we have a change for 2nd place. We then cut away back to this group.
Too much happening.
Hafai has kept, what is it, P5 so far. Pratama just running a little bit wide there down at turn 10, so I didn't quite catch what happened, but it is Matani, the number 2 rider, who is in 2nd place, and as I say that, he's now back down to 3rd place. Adaki retakes 2nd place, coming into the tricky turn 15 and 16. That's 15, the long sweeping right-hander into the braking zone. This is turn 16. This is where ultimately Adaki lost the race victory yesterday, and this is turn 17, back on the left-hand side of the tyre, and then they'll stand their bikes up, get behind the bubble, and full gas it down into turn 1. 2 laps to go here in race 2 of Asia Talent Cup action. There you can see the gap for race leader Pratama. He is well on his way to a 5th victory of the season and 2nd this weekend.
He is indeed. So you can see then, Adaki also knows from the last few laps that he is not going to really be under attack on that main straight. So that is interesting information for the end of the race, but he'll certainly want to make sure that gap's a little bit bigger after yet a bigger mistake early on, then another wobble there. But what have we got happening here then? It's the number 9 then of Takahira, who after his own little excursion, brief, not too dramatic, but he's made his way back to the front of this group then, fighting for that 5th position. Great stuff from the number 9, obviously gathered it up again, and yeah, looks pretty solid to try and fight at the front of this group, and it's Azawa at the back of it again.
What a move that is.
What a move, that was beautiful.
Hafai around the outside at turn 7 8. We do not see that very often at all. That's a phenomenal move through the fast snaking section there from the number 19 rider. He's going to hold station in P5 going into turn 10 as well. Zara sticking up the inside there as well. It's getting very busy down there. Adaki back to the 2nd place fight ahead of Matani. Matani 2nd place in the championship, remember. He knows Pratama's well up the road and onto race victory, and Matani is 52 points down, a reminder, in the championship standings. So if he can limit the damage as much as possible by finishing 2nd place, all is not lost in this season for the rookie number 2. Remember, he is a rookie and he's only finished off the podium once, and that is when he crashed out on the last lap in Japan. We didn't see what happened back there in Japan either, but it is last lap time here in Indonesia for race 2 of the Asia Talent Cup. Veda Pratama on the number 7, well clear, 5.7 seconds to be exact, of the 2nd place group fight.
Yep, so this is going to decide it then, and Adaki again, no attack on the main straight as the last lap begins, and he's got a fair bit of breathing space there, has the number 14 just in time to try and protect that 2nd place. And these guys as well at the moment, it's 2 duels then in what was a group fight for 5th. Who is going to come out on top here? At the moment it's advantage Takahira, but I think that might be about to change already.
I think it might be, yeah. Hafai will be looking at doing the outside of turn 7 line again once more. If he does, that'll be super impressive. You can already see then Adaki had a little bit of a gap on the 2 riders behind him going through sector 1, but the slipstream effect through sector 2 is coming into play. Matani up the inside down at turn 10, heavy braking zone. Adaki late on the brakes. Is he going to make the apex? Yes, he is. Great braking from Adaki on the number 14 to keep P2, but for how long? Matani up the inside through turn 11, thinks better of it.
He does indeed, and now he's under a little bit of threat there from Ogiwara as well. And then Izawa making moves in what is once again a group battle then in that fight for 5th. Pratama just nice and smooth out the front, keeping it clean. He's got such an advantage. You can also afford a wheelie, hint hint, if you want to, Veda. But yeah, really great performance from him. But what is happening in that podium fight and in that battle for 5th?
Pratama then rounds turn 16 and rounds turn 17. Nice and cleanly done. What a race, what a weekend for the Indonesian. Perfection again from Pratama here in Mandalika. What's happening in the group behind? We watch Pratama over the line celebrating. What's happening with the 2nd place fight? Matani crosses the line in 2nd place. Adaki claims 3rd, and it's Ogiwara in 4th place. Let's hope we get a replay of what happened there in the last section. I'm sure there was a little bit of argy-bargy, but it is the number 7 of Pratama who wins the race. We didn't also see what happened in the fight for 5th place, but it is the number 21 of Azawa, rebounded after a tricky start, a tricky couple of laps for Azawa, and a race 1 crash yesterday, of course. Pratama, Hafai, Takahira and Nicholas also in that group, finishing inside the top 9. A great race then from Pratama. perfection once again from the number 7 Indonesian rider. A perfect weekend, taking another race victory, 5 in a row. So the delight of the packed grandstands here on the home straight, and of course everyone watching from home and around the world as well who is Indonesian and supports the Indonesians. Veda Pratama, a star in the making. I hope we do get a replay of what happened in the second place fight. Mitani eventually winning out on the number 2. 5.9 seconds was the disadvantage to the race winner. Adaki just missing out on P2 by 17 1,000ths of a second. How close do you like it? And Ogiwara also a close 4th, just missing out on the podium after his crash down at turn 1 yesterday on the number 16. But all the plaudits this weekend and this year so far rightly belong to Veda Pratama. He'll be standing on the top step of the podium once again. Zen Mitani stood on the podium yesterday, but it was the 3rd place box. This time it'll be the 2nd place box. Get to speak to all the riders after the race, get their thoughts, get their feelings, and I'm sure all 3 of the podium riders will be happy. Adaki will probably be a little bit disappointed that he couldn't go away with Pratama in this race, the number 14. Yeah.
That early mistake really paid. Well, not early. He had got away. Well, he'd made his way up into 2nd place eventually after a little bit of a tougher start than yesterday, because like you said, on lap 1 yesterday he'd already made a move, but yeah, today it was not to be for Ayman Adaki. Still another podium finish, which is definitely no mean feat, and look how close it was over the line, just 0.017 behind Mitani then. And look at me, I'd said earlier he knows he probably won't be under attack on the main straight, but they had been losing out some meters to the smaller number 14 on that slipstream, but no. 3rd place for him today then, and Zen Mitani going one better than yesterday where he was 3rd, and yeah, certainly a lot closer to Pratama as well today. It was 15 seconds that the duo at the front had in race 1, and today it was just under 6.
Certainly was a little bit of a closer fight, not in terms of the race victory of course, but in terms of the gap, as Fran rightly mentions. Pratama, Mitani and Daki on the podium, less than, well, just over half a tenth, splitting 3 podium finishers across the line. Like I say, let's hope we get a replay of what happened down, I assume, into turns 15, 16 and 17, because that's really where it all comes down to, and they were so close. Interesting to see if anything happens. Here we go. This is down into turn 10, not the last corner, the last lap. Mitani sticking it up the inside of Adaki. This is what we saw on the live. Adaki hanging it around the outside, banging it down the gearbox and making the apex. Hard braking from Adaki.
Nice and neat that, isn't it? It looked like he was a bit wide, but no.
So this is what happened then. That was turn 16. This is turn 17. Adaki hanging it around the outside. Mitani assumingly shoving it up the inside of Adaki at turn 16. Adaki having the inside line at turn 17, but with Mitani having the wide sweeping line through the final corner. He eventually won the race to the line by the aforementioned 17 1,000th of a second. There it is, coming across the line. Adaki getting his elbows out, trying his best to keep his balance and try and keep Mitani behind him, but it was to no avail, unfortunately. There's Pratama celebrating, and there's the riders behind battling away for P2, P3, and unfortunately for Ogiwara, it is just off the podium in P4, but a great race nonetheless for the number 16 rider. A good battle then down there, Fran, as we
it was indeed
predicted.
Almost a photo finish. I think you've just got to take a few more thousandths off to get to that true photo finish territory. But yeah, incredible stuff from all those guys then. And like we said, a lot closer to the win today than they were yesterday, which is progress in itself, because of course, Glory winning, incredible performances like that of Pratama, important, but the ATC and all of the Road to MotoGP programs also about progress. So cutting 10 seconds off your race time ain't a bad day's work.
Absolutely spot on, yeah.
Or race gap, rather.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the full time comparison.
I would if I had it on my screens, but I don't. Oh, I do actually. 25.55 for the race yesterday, 25.57. So a couple of seconds slower, Fran, than they were yesterday. Not sure what Pratama was playing at.
Wow. That is big talk from a man who struggles with a scooter in the paddock.
Yeah, only joking, of course. He's rocking the sunglasses again, like he did yesterday. Pratama So the heroes welcome as well.
It's definitely a choice, isn't it?
It is a choice,
the glasses.
yeah. Mentioned yesterday, probably wouldn't be my first choice, but I'm not an ATC race winner and a star in the making, so I think Pratama can wear whatever he wants.
Absolutely can. Absolutely can. So Adaki then looking happy enough, aren't they? Those guys who who completed the podium. But Pratama, bit of a track day experience for him today, this morning.
Yeah.
Really impressive. Didn't look back. Didn't look back at all. I've only seen Adaki in the shot very briefly there. I want to see if he's happy. Because I was surprised yesterday there was not more slight race. There we go. Yeah, I was surprised yesterday that they seemed quite chummy after what had been a very close race.
Yeah.
But that's what we absolutely love. Our selfie.
Yeah, he's happy enough. Inside he'll be disappointed, but he'll know that to run Pratama as close as he did yesterday was a phenomenal effort.
It really was. Yeah, it really was.
1.2 seconds quicker in qualifying. That wasn't just a fluke as well. We mentioned in practice, both free practice sessions, Pratama was a second clear, just over a second clear in free practice too. It wasn't a fluke in qualifying, but Adaki did very, very well yesterday to be with him. So here's the final results then from race 2 in Indonesia. Pratama does the double once again like he did in Japan. Mitani claimed second place in a close fight with Adaki and Ogiwara. Ozawa recovered to P5 with Kwetazan, Hafai, Takahira and Nicholas all in that fight for the top 5 and top 6. Faraz Putra rounded out the top 10 with Al Sahuti, Ramadipa, the Indonesian wildcard, Chessie Melandri, Ahmad Darwisi and Levi Russo round out the points. Russo crashed out yesterday, so good for Russo to get back into the points in race 2. Wan Moon and Adi Putra in P16 and P17 respectively. And here are the riders who unfortunately didn't make the checkered flag. Geding, wildcard Alma, Chavan, Padilla and Rasaidan. Rounding out the riders here in Indonesia. Here's your championship then. Mitani limits the damage. Pratama on 145 points, now 57 clear with 6 races to go in the 2023 title chase. Takahira loses more ground but recovered well in race 2. He finishes the day 3rd in the championship where he started. Kwetazan in 4th, Adaki in 5th. Moving down the order, Ogiwara in 6th place, Hafi in 7th, Al Sahuti in 8th. Ozawa stays in 9th place but gets more points on the board does the Japanese rider with Putra rounding out the top 10. Fadia, Darwisi, Rasaidan, Nicholas and Mailandri inside the top 15. Wan Moon, Russo, Garin top 18 with Ramadipa and Alma, your wildcard riders here in Indonesia, on 9 and 8 points respectively in 19 and 20th in the championship.
Here we go then. You can see the speaker is speaking, so I'm sure soon. Yep, there we go then. Ayman Adaki relegated to 3rd place today after that stunning race yesterday, but still another podium for the number 14. And another podium for the number 2 of Zen Mitani as well. And your winner, your home hero, your superstar of Indonesia, Veda Pratama, back on the top step in full sunglasses style. So here we've got the trophies. Yeah, happy enough, aren't we? Happy enough.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So 3rd place for Adaki, then the 2nd place trophy is presented to Zen Mitani. Another great day's work for the Japanese rookie. And then finally the winner's trophy. A nice double set from his home round here on Lombok, Veda Pratama.
Indonesian flag waving there in the foreground, and it is time now for the Indonesian national anthem. Congratulations to Veda Pratama. You see the big Indonesian flag being waved in the grandstand opposite us, the fans going wild. What a start to the race day it has been for the home faithful and everyone watching at home in Indonesia, of course. There, they're just putting the flag away. That's just opposite us.
That's awesome.
In the commentary box. It's great to see, isn't it? Just how much support the Asia Talent Cup riders, the stars of the future in this part of the world, are getting. Highlights then coming up from race 2, and it was Pratama once again starting from pole position, and just like he did in race 1, got a perfect launch, grabbed the whole shot, but unlike race 1, no one really saw which way he went. The number 14 of Adaki got away decently and was up to second, passing Fuetazan, the number 20, down into turn 10 on the opening lap. Crashed down at turn 12, unfortunately, for one of the riders. Adaki was making his way up to second place and tried to get his head down, but the likes of Matani was making life difficult. Adaki made a mistake. There it is. Well, just after at turn 16, that was Adaki coming out of turn 17, and unfortunately that cost Adaki any chance of going with Pratama like he did in race 1, and then it all came down to a fight for the podium places. That was the wildcard rider of Alma, unfortunately crashing out down at turn 1. An unfortunate end to a brilliant weekend for Alma. That's what happened to Takahira down at turn 16. The rider who, of course, was once in title contention, still might be, but he's got a long uphill climb to go to catch Veda Pratama. Pratama crossed the line to take victory, a double victory on home soil. What a weekend it has been for the number 7. This is what happened coming out the final corner. Adaki and Matani going elbow to elbow, and it was the Japanese rider of Matani beating his compatriot by 17 1/1000ths of a second to claim the podiums. Adaki happy but a little bit disappointed with P3, but it is all about Veda Pratama in 2023. A perfect weekend on home soil. We will see you in Thailand.